And hello again, this is Ed Garrett for TMStash.com with another DC Corner. This week we're going to talk first about Batman Eternal and Multiversity, but we're going to get into Future's End big time this week. Just really quickly, if you're not reading Batman Eternal, you are missing out. This past week, the Wednesday issue that just came out really features a battle between Spoiler and Clue Master that is absolutely outstanding. This is Spoiler in full costume against her dad, who is out to kill her, believe it or not, to try to protect his own position. It's the main part of the book all the way through. It is well worth picking up just for that battle. And again, the series is fantastic. If you're not into Batman Eternal, I don't know why you're not. Go grab it. Multiversity continues with the Society of Superheroes on Earth 20. Now it's an odd mashup of a lot of different genres. It's not really steampunk, it's not really 1940s kind of stuff, but it's somewhere in between, and it's really good. You've got the Atom, a Golden Age version of the Atom, Al Pratt. A female Blackhawks team is just fantastic, and a Doc Fate, as opposed to Dr. Fate, that's very impressive, along with a devilish-looking Abin Sur, who is the Green Lantern of that world, but wearing a costume that's very reminiscent of one of Alan Scott's old costumes pre-New 52. They are joined by Anthro, who is on Earth 20, and they're fighting their version of Vandal Savage and that universe's version of the Parallax Entity. They do realize late in the game that there is a chance to contact other universes in the multiverse, and they're trying to get that, but in the meantime, Anthro and Vandal Savage's battle, it could even wind up dooming Earth 20 itself. It's a good issue. Go pick it up. I'm looking forward to more from Multiversity. Now, with those out of the way, the main part of this week was Future's End. Let's start with a spoiler alert for Future's End number 20. And if you're not reading it, if you want to plug your ears up, this is probably a good time to start. Red Robin has finally been outed, not publicly, but found out by Lois Lane. Thanks to a package that was sent to her from Red Arrow, who's trying to track down Tim Drake. Brother Eye has captured Bruce Wayne 5 years from now and has extracted the knowledge it needs about Batman Beyond going back, a character it calls an assassin sent back in time, and apparently is going to go back in time itself or send something back in time to stop Batman Beyond. Meanwhile, Lana Lang, Slade, Grifter, 50 Sue, I almost said 52, but 50 Sue talk with Faraday, and they may be headed to, quote, an ultra top secret, authorized personnel only, trespassers will be eviscerated, super secure sidekick bunker. 50 Sue is turning out to be one of the strangest characters in the new 52. I really don't know what's going to be done with her at the end of Future's End. But it's been a pretty wild ride here. Meanwhile, let's go to the tie-in issues. Wonder Woman's Future's End, is it all a dream? Sort of, yeah. She's fighting a seemingly endless battle that leads us directly into Superman Wonder Woman Future's End. Now, both of these issues are written by Charles Soule. This is his last shot at the Superman Wonder Woman pair-up. And in this issue, the Superman Wonder Woman Future's End, we find the Superman of 1 year from now, 4 years back in this timeline, sent to help the Wonder Woman of 5 years from now, which sort of spoils the fact that their relationship's going to end possibly a year from now or not much longer. DC is already spoiling this on their own site, but is a solution here for Wonder Woman to give up being God of War? And if she does, what role would she logically take on? That's what you're going to see here. That takes us to Pandora Future's End. Now, we find out in this one that Pandora is actually much, much more powerful than we had even thought before, even though she's largely responsible for the New 52 universe existing in the first place. But if you thought that she was going to be the Deus Ex Machina that was going to fix everything and return us back to the regular New 52 or even to the pre-New 52 universe, this book pretty much closes the book on that thought. That's not going to be how they resolve this. I'll come back to a thought on that in a little bit later. Meanwhile, Justice League Future's End has the remainder of the Justice League team on Mars against Captain Atom, trying to return him under the control and all the other prisoners under the control of Martian manhunters pacifying mind control. A little disturbing, this book, but it's worth picking up. Meanwhile, Batwoman Futures End has her turned into a vampire. She's out to kill Maggie Sawyer, but her twin sister, Kathy Kane's twin sister, Alice, has a different plan in mind, one that almost places her on the side of the good guys here. It's an interesting one-off. It's not one that you have to read to keep up with Futures End as a whole, but if you're a Batwoman fan, it's more than worth picking up. Teen Titans has a new team that takes over after the death of the original Titans. We don't see the death of the Titans, but we do have in the main Futures End title Tim Drake referring to having Wonder Girl's brains splattered all over him. So it's pretty graphic, at least how their demise was. We don't know who else died, but we know that Tim's one of the very few survivors. This is an all-new team comprised mainly of Earth 2 characters along with Heretic. Yeah. In fact, that's not the only place Heretic winds up, who describes himself as being one of many. So if there's a clone named Heretic, there's probably several. One of the other ones winds up in Batman and Robin Futures End, where Batman is keeping the Robin of that day. Duke, who was a character that he met back in Zero Year, is now Robin 5 years from now, and has been at that point for 2 years, meaning 3 years in our future. And is it confusing enough for you? What it does mean is that Duke is not likely to be the Robin that comes out of Robin Rises. We still have no idea who that will be, but whoever it is will likely quit being Robin before Duke takes over. Now, all of this is Duke being kept pushed to the sideline with other errands and other battles to fight, while Batman's tracking down this version of the Heretic to find out if his DNA is truly from Damian. That leads us to believe that obviously that Damian's not going to be the Robin that comes out, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Batman Superman Futures End is actually set 4 years ahead of now instead of 5, because as we know from the main Futures End title, Bruce is not doing so great. For 5 years from now, he's taken over by Brother Eye. But even here, Bruce is not doing so well. He's got a broken back, 14 broken bones total, a punctured lung, and supposedly, I think the count was 1,312 stitches. We sort of get to the idea of how he got to this point. And we also know that there is something that really drove something between his relationship, not only with Superman, but with all of the supers. Steel's not too happy with him. No one's happy with him. Krypto's not happy with him. All we know is that there was some war between the worlds and that Batman ended it. However, it had to be ended, but certainly not the way Superman would have ended it. That supposedly will be in future storylines. We just know that Batman right now is not in very good shape. Speaking of the supers, though, Supergirl Futures End has her turned into a cyborg paired with Cyborg Superman. He does not realize it. She does not realize it. But, of course, in this reality, Cyborg Superman is her father, Zor-El. But she's been turned into a cyborg, and they're somehow have broken free of Brainiac's control. They're in search of a right kind of DNA to recreate or create a perfect Kryptonian race, and they're in search of the Wanderers, including Captain Comet, who we're teased here is at some time between now and then is going to be the love interest of Kara Zor-El. But at this point, she barely recognizes him. And it's that love story that comes into this thing as to whose control she'll remain under. That sort of capsules most of the Futures End stuff coming out this week. I got to tell you, though, this is where I'm a little worried about the Futures End storyline. And this is just me editorializing here. There's a couple of ways this can go. I'm reminded a lot of Flashpoint, the series, which originally was just intended to come back to the regular DC universe. It was after that series had already started that they decided it would be a good vehicle to boot the New 52. You had a world where everything was going terrible, the world was going to hell in a handbasket, everyone was fighting everyone, the future was horribly dark, but you knew there was some sort of trapdoor out of it, and that you would come back to some recognizable universe where there was some opportunity for hope, even if not everything turned out okay. With Futures End, we're being teased that this is the storyline, that this is what we'll see through the next 5 years and how it will play out. If so, I'm real worried. And I've gone through every change you can think of. I've been reading comics off and on for 50 years, literally 50 years. I went through Crisis on Infinite Earths. I've gone through the 0 Hour. I've gone through all sorts of changes in here, including all the different crises and, of course, the New 52. But this future is so grim, so dark, with so many people dead, that you certainly hope that there's some trapdoor out of it. Now, I believe there could be. Obviously, they've closed the door on Pandora, and that makes sense for them to do that. That's the obvious play. 50 Sue could yet be that play. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they'll figure out some way to say at least that there is a way to avoid parts of this future. We'll give it a shot. Anyhow, coming up this week, more Batman Eternal, more Futures End. Don't miss out on this. It's going to be a great week. Have a wonderful time, guys. I'll see you later tonight on the regular Comics Week in Review podcast, where we'll be talking a little bit about DC, but also a lot about Marvel and all the independents and what's coming up next week on DC and all the other publishers. So join us again then. Thanks, guys, for joining us on DC Corner. This is Ed Garrett signing off, and I'll see you around.